They started defending us really hard, getting after us. We didn't play well at the end of the first half. After halftime, we came out. We got off to another good start. Tyson Ayrton got it going, made some big shots. Trey Wade made a big shot. Dexter Dennis made a big shot. We rebounded better than we did in the first half. First half, we just got off to a slow start because they were making shots. I mean, they made 7 threes in the first half. They only averaged 5 for the game. So they shot a lot better than their percentages, and we were able to pull it out at the end. This Houston game will be a tough game. Right now, they're the best team in the conference. The last couple of years, last time we played them down there, they beat us pretty good. I think we've lost 4 in a row to those guys. So it's a big challenge for us to be able to go down and play well.
You mentioned the first half kind of going Ole Miss's ways. What are you learning about the attitude of this team? Because we've seen that a couple of times where they face pretty big adversity. We know about the adversity they faced before the year, but even in game, they're facing it, and it seems like they're responding very well.
Yes, the kids have had great attitudes. Even when we get down, they stay together. None of those guys point fingers or anything. We got good leadership on the bench. Our leaders, even for the guys that are not playing, they constantly telling those guys to clap it up. It's all about win. Nobody is really thinking about scoring points. Everybody just want to win the game. And at the end, in the locker room, you can just tell the excitement, even from the guys that didn't play at all. Everybody is excited just about to get the win.
Can you tell us who those vocal leaders, who's developed into that role for you?
I think Tyson Ayrton, Dexter Dennis, Trey Wade, Al Tariq Gilbert is doing a better job. Morris Udeze, all the older guys for sure have been the leaders. And, anytime I get on a guy about something, I don't have to say it twice because those guys are stepping up and they're taking control of the locker room. And we told them at the beginning of the year, this is your team and you got to voice your opinion and be a leader and talk about stuff.
Coach, and tell me a little bit more about Houston and what makes them so good. It seems like every year, they're a top 10 team in offensive rebounding. What is it about, the way that Sampson preaches offensive rebounding that makes them so good every single year?
Well, they're well coached. Coach Sampson is one of the best college basketball coaches in the country. Somebody asked me the other day, if you could go watch anybody practice, who would it be? And I said, University of Houston. And they said, not Duke, not Kentucky. I said, no, it would be University of Houston. He just gets those guys to play hard at another level. They play aggressive. They defend at a high level. They've done a good job with us over the years because in ball screens, they do a good job of icing the ball screens, almost trapping it. They were the one team last year that were able to hold our bigs down because when we throw it into the low post, they double the low post and they are just relentless on the offensive glass. They've been one of the best offensive rebounding teams in the country the last couple of years, and it'll be a big challenge for us to go down there and we just got to rebound. I think that's the biggest key to the game is rebounding.
Coach, talk about the importance of the three-pointer this year. I think I saw a stat that said that you guys are 5-0 when you hit 8 or more and 1-2 if you don't. So what's the importance of being able to knock down the long ball in these games?
I think when you can make three-point shots, it just allows you to spread the floor. We got a couple guys that can make shots, Dexter Dennis, Tyson, Trey can make them late in the game. He's been doing a great job of that. And when we can stretch the floor like that, it just gives our guards like Porter and Al Tariq Gilbert more room to work. So that helps a lot with our spacing. The three ball is a weapon. So if your team can make double-figure threes, you got a great chance of winning that game.
Can you just back to the locker room? Late last year, there was a lot made of maybe the chemistry not being there. You had different guys doing different things, being on different pages. It seems like this is very different from that. Can you compare the two locker rooms from a year ago to now?
Yeah, I just think, we got leadership from the older guys that have been here, and the young guys are just really buying in and looking up to those older guys and listening to everything they got to say. And we know who the starters are, 1 through 5 right now. And those young guys are just buying in. But I do think Dexter Dennis, Tyson Ayrton, Trey Wade, those guys have really stepped the leadership up. And it started this summer when they first came in. I think it was in July. That's all they talked about, just being better leaders in the locker room. And the great teams have that. And they're doing a better job of just having leadership, when they come to practice, off the floor, in the locker room, everywhere.
How would you define a bad shot for Tyson Etienne right now?
He's been making a lot of shots, man. I give him a green light because, a lot of people ask, why do you allow him to take those deep threes? Well, he take those threes in practice. Sometimes I'll be practice. I'm like, what are you doing? And it goes in. So I can't just tell him not to shoot it in the game. I guess if he missed 8, 9 in a row, I'll probably get mad and take him out of something. But he has the green light. He's worked at it. He's one of those guys, again, that's in the gym before practice. He comes after practice, and he's always working on his shooting 24/7. He's gotten better in his ball handling. When guys come out and pressure him, I thought he did a great job against Ole Miss in driving the basketball. We got in the bonus probably around the 15-minute mark in the second half, and that was because he had them so stretched out, and they tried to come out there and guard him, and he was just driving the basketball on those guys.
We've talked about it before, but just the defensive rebounding with the centers, last game, only one between all three of them in 40 minutes. So what's the message in practice this week? I mean, obviously, I'm sure that has to change, when you're going up against a team like Houston, right?
That's an amazing stat. And I noticed it after the game. I was so locked into the game and just, making sure the guys were executing the right things. But after the game, I saw that. And I went to Mars, I went to Poor Bear, I went to Josephat, and I said, this just won't get it. There's no way we can play a game and one big only get one rebound. That's just not good enough. And in order for us to go down to Houston, I've already told those guys, between our bigs, we need 10 to 12 rebounds in that game. And we haven't done that this year, but we just keep trying to emphasize that in practice. We're working on checkouts 24/7. We're working on techniques. If you miss a check in practice, you're being held accountable now. We can put you on the sideline and run you a little bit. We just got to keep getting better at that. But I think our bigs have to get better at rebounding. We're not rebounding at a high level like we need to. And I think those guys can rebound at a high level. We just got to start taking it from practice into the game.
Was it almost good to see Houston one game ahead of you guys do what they did against SMU? They just lost Mills for however long, and they just lost a game to Tulsa. You kind of think, okay, well, maybe they've got a weak spot here. Maybe it's time. And then they do that to SMU. Is that a nice eye opener for the guys to see, hey, wait a minute, these are still the top dogs right there?
I mean, had they lost that game, they wouldn't have made no difference to us because they've owned us in the last couple of years. There's nobody in the American Conference besides maybe Cincinnati that can say the last 4 times they played us, they've beaten us. We beat them my first year here with Landry Shamet, Connor Frankamp. I still remember the game. We won by like 25. We were up like 30. We haven't won a game against them since. We lost 2 more games to them that regular season. We were 0-2 against them the year after that, and we didn't beat them last year. So they've had our number. They beat us pretty good down there last year. Again, they're well coached. And the game is just going to come down to toughness and competing at a high level. It's not going to be about making or missing shots because they're going to miss some, we're going to miss some, but it's going to be about competing, toughness, and rebounding. That's what it's going to come down to.
With close road wins, obviously, against South Florida and Ole Miss, what does it say about your team? Not only the leadership like we've talked about, but also the poise of this team to be able to just hang around and pull out these close games, especially with another tough road game in Houston tomorrow.
I think it just gives them a lot of confidence that know, even though we're down, double-figure points, that we can still win the basketball game. And we just keep chipping away, and those guys in the end are able to pull it out. I think it gives them a lot more confidence in me. I got a lot more confidence in them. And, we just stay together as a unit, and they all pulling for each other. I would say that's the biggest thing. You should hear how those guys are cheering for each other on the sideline, because now these arenas don't have as many fans, but those guys are bringing their own energy on the sideline and cheering for the teammates.
Speaking of arenas, do you have a thought yet? We got the official word that it's all going to Indiana for the tournament this year, a couple sites. I don't know how much that you're paying attention to yet, but what's your thought on what NCAA is trying to do this year with the tournament?
I think they're just trying to make it safe, COVID protocol. And, you got a lot of guys that's over that, the physicians, the doctors, the schools, athletic department. And if they feel like Indy is the best place, we're cool with that. Indianapolis is a great place for the NCAA tournament, and I would be excited if we could make it to it. So that's a great opportunity just to, get to Indiana.
Coach, you mentioned the importance of how you guys attack the ball screens. Houston's been really, really good against those on defense. So when Tyson, Altariq are in those ball screens and they ice it, what's the key? What do they have to do a good job of to make that effective?
The key is, number one, we got to have good spacing against those guys. We can't be next to each other. We got to make sure we got good spacing, a guy in the dunker spot, a guy on each wing, a guy at the top. When we do get a ball screen, we got to be strong with the basketball. We got to be able to keep our dribble. We got to make sure the big pops to the open area and don't get lost. And when that big pops to the open area and he catch it, maybe he can get a dribble handoff or something like that. But for the most part, we're not going to try to run a lot of ball screens. I think they're just really good. It will be times where, we'll put Altariq Gilbert in a ball screen or Tyson in a ball screen for the most part. But we just got to have good spacing and be able to attack those ball screens. In the low post, something they do a great job of, when you throw it inside to your big guy, it's almost like they're trapping him. They're trying to force turnovers. And we got to do a better job with our bigs of not posting up off the lane. I already told the bigs that we need you posting under the rim. If you're off the lane, I don't want the guards really throwing it to them because they're just going to try to come trap you in that situation.
And you mentioned the record against Houston. They've kind of owned you guys, like you said. Since that first game, is it kind of a pride thing at this point, or do you point that out, even though some of these guys weren't on those teams, the last two seasons? Is this kind of one of those things that you're using to motivate them going into the game that, hey, this is the measuring stick in the American. Like, if we want to win this conference, we have to beat them?
Without a doubt. I think, even the new guys, they know the history of Houston the last couple of years versus us. Tyson and Dexter and Morris and all those guys experienced it. Altariq Gilbert, he beat UConn up there last year. He beat Houston up in Connecticut last year, and it was a really close game. So he's played well against those guys. I think that'll help us. I think Dexter and Tyson, just having that experience of going up against us and those teams beating us, those guys have been going so hard in practice, man. They've just been bringing the energy and just letting the other guys know what it's going to take to compete against Houston. We got to have a good practice. We had one yesterday, and we need an even better practice to prepare for the game tomorrow night.
Piggybacking off of that question, Coach, what about you? You said earlier that the only time you guys have won was ironically your first year with the program. Now that you guys are in a new era and you're leading the team right now, how are you feeling going up against a team that you could possibly beat this time?
I just want us to be well prepared and make sure we go down there and understand, in order to beat these guys, you're going to have to play the hardest game you've played this year. You got to play at an elite level on the glass. You got to have toughness. You got to make sure you're not turning the ball over. And we're just trying to get prepared. We're trying to simulate what they do in practice by rebounding. It's hard to simulate that because those guys go to the glass so hard. But we just been preparing, watching film, talking about our spacing, and just letting the guys know that it's the biggest challenge of the year. And we're going to need all 16 guys in order to go down there and try to get a win.
Mute myself. Good words, Coach. Anyone else? All right. We'll talk to you tomorrow night. Thanks, guys.
All right. Happy New Year to you guys.
Thanks for the time.